Hi guys, my name's Leilani. Welcome to my channel. Today I will be doing one of my absolute favorite go-to meals for the month, generally in the colder months. The reason I like it is because it is both anti-inflammatory, anti-aging, and actually very, very, very gut healthy for you. This is, if you can't guess already, pea and ham soup. Now I've made it really simple, so it's a short version. It takes about 5 minutes of prep, maybe 10, and then a little bit of cooking, but that's hands off. So it's packed with collagen, prebiotics, anti-inflammatory nutrients, and every spoonful is working for your health. Plus, this soup is really, really, really budget friendly. It's one of the cheapest meals I think you can make, certainly in the gut health nutrient world, because you've got split peas, you've got ham bones. They're the most affordable, nutrient-dense foods, and you can make a huge batch of this and freeze it up. And that is what I do. I'll talk you through the ingredients, and then it's pretty much hands off. We'll put it on the stove and then come back. Now, these green split peas, they are loaded with prebiotic fibers. These feed the good bacteria in your gut, and they help produce a short chain fatty acid called butyrate, and that really strengthens the gut lining. It reduces inflammation and it helps prevent leaky gut. They're great for weight loss as well, high fiber, low cost. You can pick them up from pretty much anywhere, supermarket or health food store. I've soaked mine, I'll go into that in a second. One of the other things is they're really good at regulating blood sugar so that you don't sort of have those up and down crashes. So this really is a tasty, healthy, incredibly satisfying meal all round. And then the pork bones, so they're packed with the collagen, gelatin, and something called glucosamine. And this protects your joints, it hydrates your skin, and it helps repair the gut lining. So I'll cut that up a little bit in a moment. You can see how much meat is on that, and that's really what you want. I'll go into that in a second. So, but we've also got some of these anti-inflammatory components. So we've got chopped up garlic, and this is optional, but it's turmeric. So you can see here, I used to use the fresh stuff, but I stain my hands. I've even just stained my hand already with this. So you got to be a bit careful with it. This is very much optional, but it just adds some of those anti-inflammatory, anti-aging components to it, and it's just really a pinch of that. So why it's cheap and cheerful, you've got some of the core basics. I've cut up. What we're going to do is throw all this in a pot, right? So I've loosely cut up carrot and celery. Now I do buy these organic, and the reason is they're relatively cheap to buy organic. You can get them from the supermarket, and anything with this thin skin. So obviously carrot has a really thin skin, so does celery. Whereas something like onion, you can see the skin, you actually take off the skin, and it's got a bit more protection from those chemicals. So I would always opt for organic, particularly the Dirty Dozen, if you want to go ahead and look at that. But carrot and celery, I always try to get organic. So I've loosely chopped those up because we're going to blend this at the end. So it doesn't really matter if you've got big chunks, little chunks. I'm not going to saute it. You can if you want. But really the flavors, as long as you get a good pork bone, you're going to be fine with flavor, and you cook it long enough, it'll be great. So then I've got this onion. I just sliced it in half, and I've just loosely chopped it. It doesn't even have to be that fine. Why I've got this little guy is, this is the non-organic one. I got it from the supermarket, and these are the ones I get in the box. Aren't they cute? They're just adorable. I get a local organic box every week. It's delivered. It's $45 Australian, and it has a whole box of probably around 2 to 3 people's worth of food, vegetables and fruit if you want it for the week. It's organic, it's local, it's in season. I talk all about that in other videos, I can't stress how much benefit you'll get from your microbiome to your body to your brain just by making the switch. Of course, I still buy from the supermarket, but I try to bring in some organic food as well when I can. So I'm not going to cut that up, but I wanted to show you. I've got some bay leaves, okay? I've got some, I've showed you the garlic already. I'll show you how I did that. So it's really simple because we're going to blend it up. Oh, by the way, I wanted to, in another video, I think you can see this, I show you why it's important to set up your kitchen right with bins and all that kind of stuff. So go ahead and check that video out. I'll put the link in the description. It's just like basic things to make cooking a lot easier. And one of this is stability, okay? So I've got a wet tea towel, this is the smallest chopping board ever, I guess, but a wet tea towel or a wet paper towel in this case, just to stop them moving. And just all I'm going to be doing is just to get the shell off, the skin off, I guess, is smash it up, peel that. This one's a bit stubborn, it doesn't want to come off. There we go. Pop that in the bin, and you don't have to take that off. And then can crush it a little bit more and just put it in like that. So you really don't have to do any chopping with the garlic if you don't want to. So now the apple cider vinegar is also optional. It is just a small dash. I'm talking a teaspoon in there. The reason I add this is whenever you're cooking bones, and today we're cooking pork bones, and so when you put a bone in the water, in order to help the minerals come out, the zinc, the magnesium, the iron, if you add a bit of acid or vinegar, it just helps the absorption of those nutrients. So I add a splash of that, not enough to be able to taste it, just to help at the beginning, I add that. Now with the pork bone, what I'm gonna do, and what you want to do really, to have a nice flavorful soup that is going to have your family just worship you, because my son loves this. Ever since he's been about 4, I make this. So see how much meat is on that? I'll have to show you up here. It's super meaty, okay? So there's the bone, but you also want the meat in that. And it's important to get that. If you can't get that, then I recommend you buy an extra bit of ham so that you can add to it, because at the end we're going to take it off and shred it up. But just so I can get to the bone a little bit more, I'm going to do some slices, okay? That way it'll just kind of cook a little bit faster, but also get some of those bone minerals. So that's what we want with the bone broth. And the best thing about this is that it doesn't need any additional flavor. So because you've got so much flavor in this smoked ham, and I got this from the butcher. I have a really nice butcher who smokes their own ham, and so I specifically go out of my way. But you can also just go and get it from the supermarket. It just tastes better when it's from a butcher, I think. So this is about 1.5 kilos. And for that, I will add the main star of the ingredient. Oh, and very heavy. So these are split peas that I've put in water. Now, they say you don't have to soak it, but I gotta say, always soak your legumes. I needed to soak them for about minimum 4 to 8 hours. And the reason I did it is because soaking it reduces the anti-nutrients that are locked up in the phytase, like the iron and zinc, and releases them. So it helps with increased energy, increased immune. It also makes it a lot easier to digest. And so if you have issues with beans, maybe you get bloating and gas, you absolutely have to soak them. Now I have a guide, because every legume is individual, and some of them, and particularly grains as well, which is one of the issues that people have now, is we don't do the ancient preparation of whole grains and legumes and things like that. So people react to them. So once you start bringing in those techniques that people were using for millennia that actually help to bring down the bad stuff and increase the good stuff in plants, because it's got a defense like everything else, then you can start to eat these foods without reacting. And they are so beneficial. These guys feed up your good bacteria. So between that and the collagen, this is good for your skin and joint health, and also the gut lining. This is a true gut healthy dish. Also, these are main stars of gut healthy ingredients in them. I go into all the different things. So this is kind of as good as it gets. So definitely soak it. I have a guide that goes over what you need to add for each legume. So whether it's apple cider vinegar, whether it's buckwheat, whether it's whey, whatever it is, I will release that, but it is over in my gut health course. I'll actually probably do a talk on it if you want, because that's the way you can start eating grains again. So what's happening, you can see these bubbles. I know I'm bang on about this, but this is such a big deal. I actually started soaking this yesterday. All these little bubbles are the bacteria starting to break it down. So they pre-digest the food. That's why it's easier to absorb those nutrients, and it's easier on your stomach. The same way as animal products, when you eat, say, a walnut that has omega-3, it's minimally bioavailable compared to eating a cold water fish that's eaten the omega-3 from the algae that's broken it down further down the chain so that it's easier for your body to absorb. That's what the bacteria does. That's why fermented foods are so good. This is partially fermented. So what I'm going to do with that, and this is a lot, I put 1 kilo, but we only need ½ kilo, is I'm going to drain it. So I'm going to drain these, and that's the important part. All of that broth, or all of that liquid that it sits in, you really don't want that. I only need about half because I've got a lot already. Now it does have a little bit of a smell, and you don't want it to leave too long. You don't want to leave it soaking too long, but you do have to give it a really good rinse and get rid of all of that liquid that's got all the impurities in it. So I'll leave that to drain for a few minutes. I'm going to bring my pot. I can't cook on here, but what I'll do, I'm just going to show you because there's not really much to the cooking process. In this case, you're just going to put everything in. So I'll start with the ham because it's the biggest. So I'll put that down. Then I'm going to add my split peas. Gosh, they're beautiful. Nice and green. This isn't the sexiest soup in the world, I will say that. So one of the things you can do to just bring up a little bit of its sex appeal is add at the very end, and this is optional, fresh green peas. So these, I got them in the frozen section. They're actually organic, and I just put about 1 cup of them in at the end. It just gives it that vibrant green that otherwise this tends to be a bit brown. So it depends if you want it, you don't have to have it. Then I'm gonna add my vegetables. And as you can see, my pot is super full, right? Hopefully it'll fit. If you've got a really big stock pot, use the biggest pot you can find. My onion, my garlics that are still relatively whole. But as I said, we're gonna blend this up for at the very end after I've taken the meat out. So it doesn't really matter. All of those vegetables are going to be really, really soft. So they'll just do whatever you want them to do. I'm gonna add the bay leaves, and I will take these out before the blending. So just a few bay leaves. I'll add a pinch of this. Now, not much because I don't want it to really color it. Come on, out you go. So it's about 1/4 teaspoon. A dash of my apple cider vinegar. This, again, helps the minerals come out. And then water. And that's pretty much it. Now, this is not very much. I need about 8 cups. There we you go. You can add more as well. You want the meat to be submerged. You want everything to be underwater, but not too much of a gap. So I don't tend to measure things. Once you cook a little bit, you sort of understand what it needs. And then all we'll be doing is cooking this for about 2.5 to 3 hours. And I'll let that all meld in. All the flavors are gonna marry together. I'm not going to add salt yet, and the reason is that the ham is smoked, it's already salty. You can't take salt out, so I added at the end. You could add a little bit now if you want, but I'm not going to. And the other thing about soaking the legumes is that it helps with the cooking time. So in this case, it doesn't matter too much because I'm going to cook it for so long and they're going to fall apart. But if you're cooking chickpeas or any other legume, it will almost halve the cooking time just by putting it in water. You don't have to add all the other bits. That just kind of helps with the nutrient absorption. I'm a nutritionist. I'm all about that. But even if you just put it in water, any water, for a couple of hours before, if you remember, or the night before, it will help. So that's it. Check it out. It doesn't look that beautiful, but actually it probably looks nicer now than it'll look later. I'm just going to put that on the stove. I'll bring it to a boil. I will bring the camera over here and you can see it, but I'll bring it to a boil. I'll scoop off some of the impurities that come to the top. It's more optional, but I think it's better for you. The soup looks a bit better as well. If you are going to do this in a slow cooker, which is great because you could just whack it in at the beginning of the day, 8 to 10 hours later, you can take it off. Basically what you're looking for is the ham needs to be completely falling off the bone. You'll try the soup and you want it to have that nice smoky hammy flavor. So it's got to be probably, I think, about 6 hours on high or 8 to 10 on low. Pressure cooker is about an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and a half. And on the stove, so high heat to boil, then down to a simmer for about 2.5 to 3 hours. You kind of can't cook this long enough. The longer the better, but not under that because we want the flavors, we want the nutrients. So I'll meet you back here in a few hours and we'll see what happens. Okay, welcome to my stovetop. So we've almost got it to the boil and I just want to show you something. See all these fluffy clouds? They're impurities and they will cloud the soup, but also they're not that great for you. So I'm just gonna scoop them off. It only takes a few minutes. You only have to do this once and you don't have to get every little bit, but just like that, and just give it a little push around. And now that it's become a nice little rolling boil, I can turn it down. I'll put the lid on it, and the reason I put the lid on is so that that water doesn't reduce too much, because I want all the vegetables and the pork and everything to flavor the liquid. So even that, you could take a little bit more off, but really that it only sort of does it once. You might do it twice if you really want to. That's it. So I'm going to turn it down. Keep it on a nice simmer and put the lid back on and let that cook for a few hours. The longer the better, at least 2. After 2, I'll take it out. I'll push it, put my fork in the ham and see if it just falls off the bone. Give it a taste, add some more salt, and well, I'll show you then. All right, welcome back. This is my favorite part because for the afternoon, all these gorgeous smells have been filling the neighborhood. And essentially what I've done is I boiled it until the ham fell off the bone. And when I mean that, you touch it and it just falls off. So these are my bones. And you can see there's not much left, like this is just bone. And what I did on the side is I took out anything that wasn't, this has got a bit of the juice with it, but it's meat, right? So see how it just falls apart. It's so tender. So I can push that around and just break that into bits, which I haven't done yet. I just took it off with my hands. And I love getting a little bit primal, picking up the bone, ripping it apart, taking a little bite. So I took out anything that isn't, so I basically left out anything that is skin, bone, or bay leaves. So that's in that bowl. That will go to the dog. The meat is there, and this is the liquid. It's super hot. So I let that cool down before I touched it. This is just the remainder. So you can see there, it's just broth with veggies. And I'm going to then, I would do this normally on the stove, but I'll do it here because I'll show you. So that's really hot. Peas don't really need a lot of cooking. It's like a minute anyway. So this is optional, but what I'm gonna do is add these peas, about a cup. And why I'm doing this is because I want it to be a little bit green, okay? So, and when I took the meat out, I used this because that way I can actually make sure that there is no bone, because you don't want a bone because it'll mess up your blender. So I used this and then just kept a little bit of meat. If that was in there, that's okay. But what I'm essentially going to do now is use the immersion blender. You can use any kind of high-powered blender, or you can use this, which is a stick blender or an immersion blender. And I'll put it in the socket. I'm not going to do it for you now because it's really loud. I put it in there and I just will blend it. But actually, before I do that, I just want to tell you, this looks a little bit, it's probably slightly runny than I would have liked. So what I'll do, because I wasn't home, I had it going while I wasn't here. So normally I would take the lid off and let it reduce. But because I wasn't here, what I'll do instead is I'll just take a little bit of that liquid out, because I can add it back, but before it's blended, it's better to take out. So I'll take that out and I can add it back, or just use it for cooking rice or something delicious, or another soup. So I'll blend that, and then I'm going to mix through my meat after. Or you can add a bit of the meat now, so you could even do half-half. Like I said, this has been cooking for about 3 hours, and it is just like melt in your mouth tender. I want to show you. Maybe it's not as exciting for you because you don't get all the smells and you kind of get to taste it, but it's smoky, it's gamey, it's umami. I'm going to put a little bit of that in now just to blend it through. Though there is a really nice pork flavor already. And then I'll come back. All right, so I've blended it in the pot with my immersion blender. You can see, like I said, it's not overly sexy. And I could have added more green peas if I wanted that, but I didn't have that much in that little bag. But that's okay, I don't mind, because I'll spunk it up with a little bit of garnish. So that's perfect for what I'm looking for. I like the consistency. You might want it a bit thinner or a bit thicker, and I could add back that, but I'm not going to. Now, what I did, I added a bit more of the meat there so that blender will kind of shred it into the soup, but I've left some and I just got my hand and I shredded it, and I'm just going to put this into it as chunks. And that way you actually get the feel in your mouth of the meat as well, and I'll just stir that through. I wish you were here. Just the comfort smell of this is incredible. It's a really good winter dish, I must admit. Very cheap, very cheerful, and hands-on prep time, it's probably about maybe 15 minutes to 20 minutes in total. So it's just about being home, or if you have a slow cooker, boom, it does its thing. But yeah, so okay, so I'm going to scoop it up, ladle it into the bowl at a nice amount. Normally I would serve this with a crusty piece of sourdough and some butter on it, But as it is, this is gluten-free and dairy-free because I didn't use any oil or butter or any, so I didn't use any butter to saute the vegetables, which some recipes will have. So I've got that. I like to add a few things. So I got some peas there. I've got a nice little chunk of the meat. You don't have to go to this degree. Parsley, just to add a little bit of freshness and a bit of vitamin C. And for me, I cannot eat something without chili these days. I've just become a bit obsessed. So I'm going to put a few chili pieces in there. Told you I'd spunk it up. Even if the green didn't come through, I managed to pull it off. So, gut healthy pea and ham soup. Check it out. She's beautiful. I hope you try it at home. Let me know in the comments below what dishes you want to see me cook, any advice or anything on gut health. I love combining the science of gut health with practical ways to bring it into your kitchen for your family. So if there's anything you want to know about it, please let me know. Like, subscribe. I'd love to be here to provide you more information. Anything I can do to help you, please let me know. Thanks for watching.